Hello, everyone. Marc Clebanoff here from Indie Film Ins and Outs, and welcome to the second edition of our podcast, where we talk to distribution professionals and other professionals from the industry to talk about bridging the gap between the creative and the business. Today, I'm speaking with a good friend of mine, great colleague and client, Rich Wolff. He's the CEO of Breaking Glass Pictures, a domestic distribution company based in Philly. Please welcome my dear friend, Rich Wolff. He is the CEO of Breaking Glass Pictures, based in Philadelphia, domestic distribution company. Rich, thank you for joining me. Good to see you.
Great to be here, and happy Thanksgiving to you and all your followers.
So anyway, the purpose of this is, I want to kind of debunk some of the myths of distribution. Distributors are very often like the man behind the curtain. We all talk about distributors, but to actually hear it from the horse's mouth is different. So I just want to kind of hear your perspective on things and maybe help some of our followers be more strategic in the way they go about their distribution process. So first of all, as a domestic distributor, explain what that means to you in terms of the territories you cover and kind of the different types of platform and the different categories of distribution that you deal with.
Well, great. So domestically, when we release a film, it goes to cable VOD. So cable, so that's in demand, which is Comcast and a host of other companies, Ubiquity, Dish, and DirecTV. That covers about 98% of the United States. Then the internet TVOD platforms, you're looking at Vudu, Fandango, iTunes, Amazon, and there's a few other of the platforms. Then strategically, you go to SVOD, which would be your Amazon Prime, even though that's changing as we speak, the Netflix and Hulu.
And that's
Or
a film is eligible for those. Not
yes,
every film is.
yes, correct. And then you go and maybe try to get a pay cable deal. So there's windowing in effect here.
Yeah, so that's the
And
term I talk about a little bit, windowing. You don't just put everything out everywhere at once. You kind of do it strategically. So yeah, touch on that for
yeah,
me.
it's like serving a dinner. You have your appetizer first, and you have, your entree, and then you have. So the bedrock in distribution is your TVOD, right? TVOD stays in its place forever. There's no windowing. So you go and you do your TVOD.
And TVOD is the transactional. So that's like the rentals,
Correct.
like paying for a one-time streaming on Amazon or something like that.
Exactly. Right. Now, when you go to someone like In Demand, they ask for a 30 or 60-day blackout after their run ends before you go to SVOD, for instance. And you, so it's a little bit like a chess game. Okay, so you have your, your transactional VOD.
Mhm.
From there, you want to go to subscription SVOD, or you want to go to a pay cable and or advertising supported VOD.
And while you're running on those, you're blacked out from other ones, right? Like they take exclusive terms before.
Well, TVOD stays no matter what. That doesn't really change much. It's if you do a Netflix deal, you're not going to be able to do an HBO deal at the same time.
Right.
Or, that's kind of the way things are. Is you have to, certain platforms have certain exclusives. So it's, if you have an exclusive Netflix deal for 24 months, that generally precludes you from doing a Hulu deal at the same time.
Sure. So, there's one of the biggest myths I think of distribution is the ever talked about theatrical release. I think a lot of people think that if you just make a great movie, it somehow ends up in theaters. But if you could talk about what actually motivates a distribution company like yours to elevate a movie to the point where you're gonna actually invest to put it in, and also touch on that. I don't think people realize about the financial cost involved and how that can be create a downside to what a movie actually generates. So if you just talk a little bit about kind of the theatrical experience and what qualifies or motivates a film for that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm smiling because I just signed two relatively high profile films. And what has transpired is the filmmakers want theatricals.
As many do.
Yes, too many do. And it's one of these things when I hear somebody say to me, "Hey, I'd like a limited theatrical." And it's a no, it's a no name, no cast, um, $50,000, $100,000 film that really doesn't belong on this screen. It makes my life a little bit more challenging
Yeah.
because sometimes to effectuate a deal, you have to do this dog and pony show with a theatrical in LA, New York, other cities. Also, if you want to get a day and date um, position on in demand, currently you have to do 5 out of the top 20 um, largest markets, and one of the markets has to be New York or LA. So
So
it's really
explain, go a little deeper on exactly what a day and date is
sure.
and what the upside to doing it is.
Okay, so a day and date release is one that goes into high profile folders on I'm just keep using in demand as an example.
Sure.
That when you go on your cable provider and it says in theaters now, um, this is a folder that's supposed to delineate higher profile titles because they've been in movie theaters, which is sometimes the case, not always. But you can do a higher price point. So you might come out at $6.99 or $7.99 for the transactional video on demand, and it stays in a high profile folder for a couple of months.
Okay. But the downside to that is there's an inherent cost in doing the theatrical that has to be recouped before any money can go back to the producer.
Yes, so there's something called forewalling that's gained in popularity quite a bit because certain films, you have to forewall them because if you're going immediately to transactional VOD, the theaters want a window, and they want a 90-day window that it's not that you have to see it in the theaters,
Mhm.
and they have a lock for 90 days. So presumably people will go to the theaters, um, and it gets very expensive. So forewalling means that you're giving the theater money for the use of their theater, and they generally then still take they'll take a percentage
Sure.
of what comes in. They've already gotten enough money to cover their house nut. So it's great for the theaters, it's bad for the distributors.
Right.
But we also understand that, you know, that they want to have some sort of exclusivity,
Yeah, it makes sense.
that you have to go to the theater. However, the one thing that I keep thinking about while we're doing this is if this comes out a month or two from now, people are going to say, Rich Wolff, he's like doesn't get it. Things are different
Nah, this will be out
because
in like 2 days.
Yeah, because things are changing so quickly with HBO Max and that new, program that they instituted a few months ago. That you can watch King Richard in the theaters. You can watch it on HBO Max. I know I watched it on HBO Max this weekend, and I believe theatrically it did $5.4 million, which is low for a Will Smith film.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's getting really tricky that the windowing continues to change, the dynamics are changing. Amazon is changing their whole Amazon Prime situation or platforms.
Well, they've
You have,
been lowering the rev share for very consistently until it was almost down to nothing. So
yes.
I think a potential change could
It
be
used to be, Amazon Prime used to be the absolute easiest, best way to guarantee a good SVOD run. Um, that was your backstop against a Hulu or a Netflix, but that's changed since November 1st. They've been now you actually have to submit movies to Amazon to see if they'll take them.
Yeah.
Um,
What are the
the
most
most
what are the most profitable digital platforms, whether they're SVOD or AVOD? What are the platforms that have emerged that you see generating the most revenue?
Okay, it's a good question. And there's an adage in the business that one door closes quickly and another one opens. And it's really, you know, it, it's it's happening so fast. And every 3 months we have kind of a different strategy how we're going to bring something out. So the AVOD used to kind of be the rear end of the business. Nobody really cared about it. The platforms were not given, big respect.
Hmm.
And now there's been a 180-degree change that AVOD is where we are, anxious to get to. We've turned down pay cable deals this past year because somebody will say, well, we'll give you $25,000 for a 3-year exclusive. And it's like, well, I could make that in 6 months on on one AVOD platform. Sometimes more than that, sometimes less. But it's like, why tie up a film for 2 or 3 years for a, finite amount of money
Yeah.
when, you know, Tubi exists. So I just got reports in for the last few days. Tubi is excellent. The Roku channel is solid. Peacock is beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think
So
of
that's those AVOD platforms are starting to make up for the lackluster performance of Prime and some of the SVOD now.
yes, correct. And thank God for them. A lot of distributors would be in bad cash positions if it wasn't for AVOD.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the best ways that producers or even sales agents like me can actually approach distributors. So timing wise, at what point is ideal to engage a distributor to watch a film? Is it when the film is completely finished and polished? Is it when there's a cut, when there's a trailer? Like when is the ideal point for you to start getting involved in the conversation?
Good question.
Maybe it's even
So,
script. I don't know. I get asked that question a lot.
yeah, and for us, we've been gotten involved at script stage. Rough, like I just had a filmmaker who I work with. I haven't heard from him about 6 weeks, and he called me and said, "Hey, we just shot a film. I found an investor. He gave me $125,000. We shot it in upstate New York. It's a horror film. I will have a non-color corrected version to you the 7th of December." I'm like, great. So getting in early is always good because when everybody sees the film, if it's good, the price is going to go up. Um, so I'll take something at any stage. festival time, before it goes to the festivals. We're fortunate that we're staffed pretty well. So I have a lot of time that I can devote to
Yeah.
just jumping on the phone with a filmmaker. And, after you do one film with somebody, often we'll do a second or a third. I'm doing a trilogy with a filmmaker right now. We got delivery on the second, and I put up money so they could finish the film for the third, installment.
So
So
that's something that you're open to. If the filmmaker shot a good film and you're interested in it and they're having trouble getting across the finish line, that's something that a company like yours might actually
yeah,
consider.
yeah, absolutely. And it depends on, the I'm not a spring chicken. I've been in this business for a long time, and my threshold for pain is decreased. So a lot of times, emails great. Hey, how are you? Nice, thanks for reaching out. But I want to jump on the phone with somebody. I want to see who I'm getting in business with.
All right. So you've touched on two very important things. First of all, well, let's talk about how best to approach a distributor, and then we'll circle back because I want to touch on film festivals. But what are the best ways and the worst ways to approach somebody like you with a film? Because I know as a sales agent, all the wrong ways that I get approached. But what's the best way, and what are the things that rub you the worst?
Yeah. So I get the email. Hopefully there's a synopsis, if there's cast, if they have art, so if they put together somewhat of a presentation. Generally, 90% of the time we redo art, so it's not really important. It just shows that they took the time to kind of put something together. Um, I If there's a trailer, it's nice to see. I like uh, Personally, I like to see the whole film if I'm interested, because as a distributor, the whole trick with the trailer is you take your, two best minutes of the film and put it in the trailer, and the other 98 minutes sometimes are not as substantial as the trailer.
Sure.
So I've been burnt a few times years ago. It's like, hey, just
Yeah.
let me watch the whole film.
I
And
mean,
then
one of
I
the things
also
that bothers me the most, sorry to cut you off, but one of the things that drives me the most nuts is when I get an email with nothing but a link to the whole movie. Tell me a little bit about what it is, who's in it. Give me a link to a teaser, something. If you just give me a link to the whole movie without any details, I'm less inclined to actually spend an hour and a half and watch it. Or I might watch the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, and IMDb Pro is spectacular, and you know, um, I'm checking that while
Yeah,
I'm speaking with the producer, the director, the sales agent, and here's something that I get asked a lot. Do I prefer to work with the sales agent, the producer, the director, the executive producer? And it all depends. So when I'm dealing with the sales agent, we buy a lot of films at the film markets, Berlin, Cannes, Toronto, wherever. You're dealing with sales agents, and we all know each other. The sales agents kind of put a wall up between the creative and the distributor. This is good at times if you have a needy or annoying creative. But a lot of times we want to have that relationship because, hey, there's something about the film we didn't know. Or like we just picked up a film in the last 2 weeks. Well, the third lead's husband's a huge megastar, but they have different last names. Neither have social media. So you don't really make the connection. So it's good, I type in and I'm like, wow, maybe, Adam will support the film.
sure.
Well, who knows? So for us, when we're dealing with um, movies outside of the U.S., sales agents are good. Um, I don't have a preference. It's really based on who's on the other side of the line. You know, tell well, there are no lines anymore, but I like to I like to know who I'm going to be in business with for 10 or 15 years. If
Sure.
I hear the word Oscar, I tend to cut the call short. If I hear crazy, I tend to kind of remove myself. Now, I have a high threshold for creative talents who are a little bit different, you know, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little crazy.
Yeah.
It comes
Hard
with
to
the
avoid in our business.
yeah, and and I relish it, and I'm like, wow, that guy's really or that gal's that's like that was a cool call. Yeah, some of it's totally insane, but the film's good. The film's solid. And I use this analogy with people, especially with first time filmmakers. At Breaking Glass Pictures, I've released, I don't know, 500 films. And a lot of those were, I'd say, at least 15 to 20% have been theatrical. So I've done 100 plus theatricals. Um, and I ask people at a certain point, we'll be collaborative. And if you want to be involved with the release and all, that's fine. The sales agents tend not to, the producers and directors want to be. And as long as it's proactive and it's going in a good way, I'm fine with it. I realize that this is somebody's baby that they've worked on the film for 2 or 3 years. They go to the 3 F's, friends, families, and fools for funding. Like they've really put their
Yeah.
heart and soul into it. The one thing that I do ask sometimes at a certain point is like, look at us as the obstetrician. I deliver babies every day.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be fine. Just you've you've brought us your work of art. We have the materials. Let us create the art. We'll show you the comps and we'll take your opinion as an opinion. Um,
But you guys have an expertise in marketing as well.
yeah, I have an MBA. I have like most of the people who work for me have like went to really good schools, real creative, have advanced degrees. Not that that means anything, but like we're competent. And with that in mind, it's like just sometimes I have to say, look, just let us deliver the film. Let us do our job from here. Um,
Yeah, you don't want
but
to be micromanaged.
we're,
Same thing with sales agents.
yes.
You want to manage the
Um,
expectations up front, I think is fair to say. And like I said,
yeah,
as a sales
that
agent, very much the same thing.
Yeah, and how I keep talking about how things are changing quickly. We used to do projections. I don't really do projections anymore. Especially, we also have an international sales division and distribute internationally. And it's just so hard to come up with an accurate projection because here's the reality is there's so many permutations. It's like we have a film coming out, We Are the Thousand, which evolves around the Foo Fighters that played South by Southwest. If this film were to get a red box, like if we had to do a projection, okay, so DVD is going to be X. Well, do we get a red box? Now the number is Y. Do we go and do really well on TVOD and try to do premium TVOD? Maybe. Then, if Netflix were to come in, well, that's one number. If we, there's just so many permutations of what if that I've done a few of these projections years, like pre-pandemic. And it's just so much work and so much conjecture.
Yeah.
It really is.
So
So, and
going,
then AFOD
sorry, go
is
ahead.
AFOD's and it's hard to explain to them. Say, if you're not getting, like a lot of times filmmakers and sales agents especially, um, might not be as forthcoming if you don't ask directly, and put it in the contract
Yeah.
that they have not pitched all these platforms. Because sometimes you'll find that it's been pitched to everybody, and then you pick up the film and you go, everyone's like, hey, I saw this, I passed on it. Well, shame on us. That's something that it's a little sleazy. So we make sure that we ask 10 different ways. Because I've licensed films. We took it to Redbox and it goes, hey, somebody already pitched this. And we were interested and they didn't get back to us. So guess what? We're not picking it up. And I'm like, call the sales agent. I'm like, hey, they're always have amnesia. I don't know how that happened. And, and the reason this type of behavior exists now, it's so hard that, as you brought up before, Mark, Amazon Prime, it's a great example. It was democratic. Everybody could get their film on. Everybody basically made the same amount of money. And it was good money. It was excellent money. And, that changed. And they took 15 or 20 cents an hour down to a low of a penny an hour based on engagement, which is hard to. So there's less fish in the sea. So everybody's is becoming that much more aggressive to make sure, they're fed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to circle back. We brought up film festivals for a second. That's another big myth that I get asked a lot about. And almost every time an indie filmmaker pitches me a movie they're trying to produce, I ask for a distribution plan and I see something about Sundance or Toronto or something. So my question is twofold. First of all, how much value does the festival circuit offer to the distribution process? And I'm also curious to hear your opinion about the timing. Should people go about the film festival circuit first and then pursue distribution, or one before the other, or concurrent? What serves your purpose the best?
Okay. So and you asked a really good question. We love festivals. I have somebody in my employ who books festivals. So if you're signed with Breaking Glass, the benefit is we're not paying the fees to submit because we don't, and we're not asked to. So you're not spending all this money. You're coming in with somebody who they recognize, saying, hey, oh yeah, we've played your other films, you bought these films from the festival. So
And what type of festivals are you talking about? Are you talking about top tier, mid-level? Like what?
top to mid. We've had films play Toronto, Outfest, Frameline, Miami International. I had the opening night film there a few years ago, an Alex D. Iglesias film. Yeah, so good, solid festivals are lovely.
These are festivals that actually add value to the release.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and like I said, we do it for our films. So, it's absolutely fine.
One thing I tell my followers and my students is don't spend a year chasing festivals and then start the distribution hustle. I try to motivate them to go about both at the same time, because a lot of time can be wasted in the festival circuit.
Yes, okay. The other thing is there are people who are very aggressive and it's good, and they're hustling their film, and they say, we've won 3 festivals and we've played 12 festivals. And when I look and I say, oh, that's wonderful. But they're festivals that are of no real value, that we can't go to um, anybody of note and say, it won the, Husker Du Film Festival, and, and there's a million of these festivals. Some of them, I believe you can pay to be in, and you get like a submission. They're like online festivals, and you usually could finagle, an award out of them. So festivals, yes, are important. When somebody, very often when somebody's doing festivals, when we sign the film, be it domestically or from a foreign sales agent, um, they just say, okay, here's what we've done. You can take it over from here. And we
Yeah.
do that. And I think we do it well.
Okay. So my final question is, not to dissuade anybody from partaking in producing a project in any certain genre, but what are the types of films that you tend to gravitate to that tend to just be more prevalent and successful in the marketplace? And what are the ones that you find to be the most challenging?
Okay, great question. So 2021, we are doing or licensing or producing genre films. So anything horror related, um, LGBT related. We're known, I think we're probably the most active distributor in the world in that market. Um, African American is huge with us, and I can't get enough uh, product in.
And when you say
There's
African American, that kind of transcends all genres?
Yeah. So in that market, it can go anywhere from a sweet drama, about a girl entering a dance competition or something like that, to Southside, Chicago, City
Oh,
of Vultures.
that's actually a good kind of like loophole. If somebody really wants to make a low budget drama, for example, that's a tougher genre to sell, doing it with an African American or even a minority cast is going to make it more appealing for distributors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So that in the LGBT market, the there's been a lot of transgender product coming out, like a lot. Um, we do very, very well with gay themed films, so the male genre is very strong for us. Action is bigger than huge. Um,
Yeah,
those films,
all over the world too. Action is kind of the thing everybody really seeks.
they're more expensive. Um, they cost more to make. They sell for more. Everybody does well with those. The hardest genres for us are really no-name dramas. I had somebody hit me up yesterday. Um, a no-name feature. It's a drama about a film about the onset of dementia, but there's a name for it when it hits you at an early age. It's like early age dementia. And I said, and the guy's kind of a friend of mine and I said, this, I'll take a look, but it's going to be hard.
How
I
about
believe,
documentaries?
no, it's a feature.
No, I understand. I'm asking, how about documentaries? I mean, given the right subject matter.
Okay. Well, our Foo Fighters film is a documentary. A good documentary, um, there's a market for it. You have to know how to sell a documentary, to do it correctly. Um, and for instance, Amazon was, you could always get your docs on Amazon, and now they stopped docs in short form. So it's, and there was some speculation. Was it because there were going to be a lot of alt-right docs that would then say, hey, we want to be on, the platform. So there's a lot of, speculation that may or may not be true. We don't know why, because a good documentary does good business. Everybody likes documentaries.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
so there's a no-name comedy. I've had a few of those come across my desk, and it's like, oh my God, what were they thinking making this?
yeah.
Because they, they come up with this idea and show it to their friends and family, and they say, oh, it's great, and they put it in the local Nickelodeon and say, oh, the response was overwhelming. And it's like, it's like they invited the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Those are good to stay away from. Trying to think, Westerns. If I could, well, here's some more things that are really good. Westerns. If I could get my mitts on some Westerns, it would be great. They do well.
They're tough.
Sci-fi.
Westerns are tough overseas. From a producer standpoint, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like a horror film. They do great in certain territories and nothing in others. But yeah, for the US, I've heard that a lot about Westerns.
Well, sci-fi is amazing.
Sci-fi's got to be done well, though.
Yes.
I mean, everything has to be done well, but
yes.
Bad sci-fi is bad sci-fi. Yeah. I guess there's a market for that too.
UFOs are good. I'm looking at a series. Matter of fact, we can discuss off Zoom.
That might be a whole other installment of this to talk about series.
And I've done about 6 series already. This series isn't great, but because it's UFO, it could move the needle. In children and family films, there's not enough of those made. Dog movies. I've had some kind of poor quality family films with, Irving the dog, and they put a really cute, dog, artwork, and I did a nice Redbox sale on it, and it, the movie was terrible.
Well, but I know from Instagram that if I post a photo of myself, it gets a lot fewer likes than if I post a photo of my dog. So
yeah, really. How did they know? Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap us up. I appreciate all your insight, Rich. This is why I call him Uncle Richie. He's one of my my dearest friends and favorite clients. I enjoy working with you. I appreciate your insight, and I don't know, maybe a couple of my followers will come up with something good to send you at some point.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Stay warm over there in Philly. Happy holiday. And we'll chat soon. I always love talking to you because when I close my eyes, I feel like I'm talking to John Malkovich.
That's funny. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, pal. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you all got something out of today's discussion. As always, if you have questions, you can email me, Marc, M-A-R-C, @indiefilminsandouts.com. Or if you have general questions about any of our courses, finance, development, distribution, production, all the courses we offer, you can shoot us an email, info@indiefilminsandouts.com. Until next time, Marc Clebanoff here from Indie Film Ins and Outs, and I will see you guys soon.